Hey everybody, and welcome to another video from Warzone Central Coast. Today we have a very special video for you. We are bringing to you review Genestealer Cult. Yes, all shiny and brand new, only just released. So we're going to go through it. Pretty much exactly the same as the Deathwatch Codex, but a little bit different. But before we start with that, you'll notice, yes, there is more. There's significantly more Genestealers in the Deathwatch. Yep. In the Cult Genestealers, as opposed to Cult Mechanicus, because I'm used to playing them so much, than the Deathwatch Codex. But you'll notice we're not in my house anymore. We're down at Good Games Gosford with Damien.
In my other house.
In your other house. He pretty much lives here because, you know, he does own this shop.
That's why I look scraggly. They haven't let me out for several weeks.
No, I think that was because your appendix exploded.
Yeah. I thought people were just over that story by now.
They were just like, they were done feeling sorry for you. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just get you. So we are going to do the review for Genestealer Cult today together. So just a shout out to Good Games Gosford for letting us, come here and set it up, and appreciate it.
Always welcome, bud.
Appreciate you coming on and helping me out with this video because nobody else wanted to do it. Not Luke and Warwick didn't want to do it. They were just like, nah, we've got too much stuff
to be honest, this was actually a good book. So, perhaps we can be a bit more insightful with it.
Okay, yeah.
We'll go with that.
Let's do that. We'll do a better job than they ever did. So, talking about the structure of what we're going to do with this one is essentially it's going to be broken up. So we're not going to do the 2.5 hour, exposition of epic proportions that makes the Lord of the Rings like it was a short movie.
But it was a good bedtime story for all the young children out there.
It was. They were all falling asleep by the 20-minute mark due to the soothing sound of my voice.
I'm sure that was it, yes.
Yeah, it's definitely it.
Yeah.
I like to think so. It helps me sleep at night.
Excellent.
We'll break this up into 3 parts. So part 1, which is what you're watching now, is going to go into the units. So we're going to go through the individual units. We're going to just analyze them as they are without anything else and sort of see how they fit within the 40k mythos and, meta or, even casual gaming, I guess.
Well, at the end of the day, the units is generally why we buy these books. The fluff is cool, all that kind of stuff, but we really want to hear what things do.
Yep.
And stuff like that. So
we're laying a good groundwork.
That's right.
Because in part 2 we will expand upon that with formations, and there are some good formations in this book. Some interesting ones,
and a lot that don't cost you too much to take. You just build an army list and accidentally get formations out of it.
Yep. So if you're taking them anyway, you can just take them as a formation. Why even bother?
Yeah.
So it's kind of built with Games Workshop's current mindset. They want everything to go towards formations. As much as you don't like the formations, that is what they're going to be doing. But anyway, we digress. That is generally what they want to do with 8th edition. It's going to be very formation and detachment based.
Yeah, which isn't too bad as more and more books catch up and have a lot of their own unique stuff. And early on when they first brought it out, a lot of formations were hard to do. You really had to do very specific builds and put 700-800 points into actually getting a bonus.
Really bad, what are they called, taxes?
Yeah. Nowadays, you build a list, and because, as you build a list, you generally go towards a direction anyway. They give you extra bonuses for going in that direction to help you actually accomplish that. So, as everyone's getting that buff now, it's a lot fairer field than what it was in the past.
Yeah. So that's fantastic, and as long as Games Workshop obviously keeps doing it, it will level the playing field, because stuff like this, Genestealer Cult, Deathwatch, they have very interesting formations that in the current meta do actually make you competitive. It may not make you as top tier as say the Elder and Tower, but we know they're kind of broken at the moment because they can abuse certain aspects of the game a little bit. But these are definitely closing the gap, and no Elder player or Tower player can walk around and go, I automatically win against these new codexes, because they have tricks up their sleeves that can cause them a lot of trouble. But we'll get into that anyway. And part 3 will just be everything else. So we'll go through the psychics, the war gear, and all the other stuff. And essentially, we'll do a bit of a breakdown on part 3, where what ideas we've come up with after going through the book, and what kind of armies are they good against, what are their strengths, weaknesses, and generally, give a bit of a overall view of what's going on with them. So, without further ado, we will get started coming up. Alright guys, we are going to jump straight into it. So for part 1 today, we are just going through what does the Genestealer Cult have? Like what is in their army? Specifically, we'll just sort of go over the fluff, I guess, to kick things off. Before we start jumping into why things are the way that they are, because it is a very themed army. It is a very fluffy army, very similar to the Death Watch one.
Yep.
Where the models and the rules and everything, they all sort of fit within that theme, and they are going towards, a certain idea that drives them. And essentially,
an aesthetic.
Mining Imperial Guard. With Genestealers.
You could do that. I honestly prefer that. You just go out and watch the movie Aliens, and you would have seen the effects of this.
Yep.
The fluff itself boils down to, one Genestealer rocks up on a city, a hive somewhere, has a party, makes ugly Genestealers.
Yep.
Those ugly Genestealers make kind of human Genestealer hybrid things. And then they make humans, and then somehow more Genestealers pop out.
Yeah, it's like it goes through 5 phases before it recycles.
4 or 5, something like that.
4 or 5 phases where each generation is more. The first generation is the Genestealer, and it moves towards a human. And then once that human with the Genestealer genes procreates, it then starts a new cycle where the babies start off as Genestealers and then goes back to the human form. And that is essentially it. And you're absolutely right. Watch Alien.
I hate that pregnancy. I just had my appendix removed. Imagine if my appendix had scything talons and was living in my guts.
Yeah.
So I can't believe
it kind of did. That's why it exploded out of your gut.
But a human having a Genestealer baby, like a pure Genestealer baby, that's got to be so uncomfortable. And how do doctors miss this?
I'm pretty sure it just chest burst that. And at the end of the day, I guess in the hive cities with the slums and all that, you don't really have doctors per se.
Maybe the Imperium just has super drugs that just knock you out for your 9 months of pregnancy.
Yeah, you're just just go away. I don't know how to deal with you until you've popped it out. Anyway, that's 100% it. It's not too much dissimilar from that. You generally go through the book, and a lot of the stories start off with that, and it's infestations and a couple of other variations on how certain types of them were born in certain circumstances, like the aberrations and stuff like that. I'm still hooked up on the humans giving birth to Genestealers. Because we all know how many baby photos go up on Facebook. In the grim darkness of the future on Emperor Book, how does no one go, look at my beautiful baby, and it's a Genestealer, and everyone goes heresy. There's a heresy button on Emperor Book.
Fair enough.
It's not even it's like all heresy. Like heresy.
It's probably just 2 buttons with heresy. One's a green heresy, one's a red heresy.
Green heresy is good?
No, green heresy means that the Arbites knock on your door. Red heresy, the Inquisition does.
The Inquisition, Codius comes to your house and just goes, by the way, give me a baby. And you. And everybody else that you know. Because that's what the Inquisition does. Just blows everybody away.
And then the Genestealers run away, and they create new Genestealers in other towns because the Inquisition showed up and crashed the party.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's the fluff for the book.
Yep.
If you want more in depth, I would suggest you read it.
You buy the book and you read it.
Because it does have some good fluff in it, but it all kind of boils down to that. And it's been a little single-minded in it, I believe, compared to some other books' fluff.
Yeah.
Mainly because they just want to nail that industrial theme down. They're always living in the underhive and stuff like that, and they grow from there. And as they get bolder, they go up the spires, and they spread their influence.
And I guess timings kind of works a little bit with in their favour for GW, because essentially now that they've brought out the Codex, I mean, there's always been that sort of underlying Genestealer Cult has been around to a certain extent, but it's never been a full-blown.
They've almost been like a unicorn. You hear of people owning models, and you see eBay prices of stupidly priced hybrids and stuff like that.
Metal hybrids that go for like $300.
And now everyone can play it, and it's reasonable. You can have a whole army of hybrids, and it'll look cool.
Yeah, it will look awesome, because they're very, very, very well done models, in my opinion. I like the tanks, they look really good. So, we're going to kick things off with, who's up first? The Patriarch.
The Big Daddy Genestealer.
The Big Daddy Genestealer himself, first generation. So, for just under 100 points, you've got your pretty much main infantry character. He's got pretty much every special rule in the 40k rulebook. Almost.
Like 11.
11 special rules.
Yeah.
So he's bulky, he's got the Cult Ambush, he's got Fear, Fearless, Fleet, Independent Character, Infiltrate, Move Through Cover, he's a level 1 Psyker, and then the other Return to the Shadows and Unquestioning Loyalty.
And Living Idol.
Oh yeah. He's got that as well. Oh god, he's just so many. So they're the universal special rules plus the Codex special rules, and then Living Idols is like individual.
Only him himself has that.
So we'll just touch base very quickly on Cult Ambush, Return to the Shadows, and Unquestioning Loyalty. So I apologise that we're taking this out of sequence. But essentially, they are the rules that define the Genestealer Cults. They're the army special rules. So essentially, what Cult Ambush was is the ability that when you have anything in Infiltrate or Reserve, when you bring them onto the field, they can roll on the Cult Ambush table instead.
Yep.
So it's not compulsory. You don't have to do it,
but you would.
But you would, because
it's.
At default, a 1 means you come on as you would normally.
Yep.
And then the bonuses go up to number 6.
On a 2, you get to Outflank, which is pretty good. I've based armies on the past off just being able to outflank.
Yep.
These guys get it as a bonus.
Yep. Just rolling a 2 on the Cult Ambush. What's number 3?
Number 3, I believe. We should probably look this up.
But
no, that's too professional. We won't worry about it. Essentially, what I looked at, between 3 and 5, you essentially got to set up anywhere between 6 and 9 inches away from an enemy unit on the battlefield, and you could shoot, the normal reserve stuff. Yeah. On a 6, you got to deploy within 6 inches? Or at 6 inches?
You can within up to 3 inches away from an enemy unit.
And you can assault that turn. So assault units really love that one.
Yep.
3 to 5 shooting units love it. 1 and 2 is just a minor inconvenience. But what it boils down to is other than probably Elder, you've probably got one of the most maneuverable armies in the game now.
Yeah. It's very maneuverable.
Something comes out of position, you can pick it up off the table using the other rule, which is Return to the Shadows, which as long as an enemy unit is not within 6 inches of that unit, you can just pick it off the table, put it onto ongoing reserves.
Just put it somewhere else.
And then just roll on Cold Ambush afterwards, put it back on the board somewhere else. Which means that if a unit ever gets out of position, a unit of Genestealers doesn't have anything to assault this turn, your shooting lines of sight aren't very good or anything like that.
Or they stuffed up their original reserve roll and ended up on the wrong side of the board.
There is that as well. You can just pick it up off the table and go, we'll fix this next time.
Yep.
Which, that's huge. Yep. And I think that's everything this book does well. That is probably the best reason to take the cult.
It defines the book, it defines the army, and it defines how strong it is, and it is a very strong ability.
Yep.
Just being able to do that feint and attack, and feint and attack, and feint and attack. Your opponent's never going to be able to get you, locked down. They can outflank you, they can try and outmaneuverable. at the end of the day, you're just going to take them off the board and put them somewhere else, and they're going to be left scratching their head going, where are they now? Like, they're all the way over there, and it's on a 6x4 board, even in like a 1500 point battle. They're going to be spread so thin. It's going to be very hard for them to focus their fire on any one unit to destroy it, which is one of their greatest advantages.
Yep.
And it needs to help them because they are generally quite squishy.
Yeah, they're on the frail side.
They're on the frail side, but that jump off, jump on is just huge. It's only army that does that.
That would be the defensive way of using it. The offensive way is you would then put those shooting units that you have into reserve, or assault units,
Yep.
and you go, where are you hiding your jet bikes? I'm going to put them behind your jet bikes and blow the living crud out of them.
Yep.
Normally, Tau jumpsuits, Eldar jet bikes, things like that, things that are prominent in the current metas, they hide. And that's why they're so strong. They never take hits.
Yeah.
Codex Genestealer says, you can't hide from us.
Yeah.
We will come, we will find you.
We will find you, and we will shoot you, and we'll give you cuddles.
Yes.
Genestealer cuddles with rending slaps.
Yeah.
So that's that's the two main abilities. So the jump off the table and then the jump back on the table. The other one that he had is the unquestioning loyalty. Now this is on any of the independent characters, and essentially means you can automatically pass your lookout sirs. So breaking it down, if you look at what it does in application, say you're versing Khan the Betrayer and a bunch of cultists, and he has to challenge your leader. The Patriarch accepts the challenge, but then any of the wounds, you can look out Sir them onto the other guys, and in the challenge, he's just killing everybody around him because he's essentially picking up a guy and just putting him in front every single time that the Khan or whoever it is tries to hit him.
It probably comes into effect more for the Magus. He's the psyker for these guys, and he can't fight in combat. He can buy time by throwing your chump troops in front of these characters, keeping them alive to the end so that the rest of your army can come in and save them out. You're not going to give up Slay the Warlord as easy. And it just gives you better legs. Your characters in the past have almost been a gamble on the battlefield. I've always found like the character slot, or HQ slot I should say, has always been the most expensive slot in 40k, and you should always minimize it. You can spend points on your HQs with this one knowing that they won't die to a lucky last cannon.
Yeah, and they're not even that expensive, to be honest. Like, they're dirt cheap for what they do.
They certainly are.
So Patriarch back to him.
Yeah.
So the aside is finished. So he causes fear. He's got Fearless, which is awesome. So no running away. He's got Fleet, which is just incredible. Put him in a unit of Genestealers, and he's never going to fail a charge, essentially. And then, he's a level 1 Psyker, but you can upgrade into a level 2 for 25 points.
That's correct.
Which you probably would do most times, or alternatively take a Magus and do the same to him.
I honestly would only ever take him at level 1.
Yeah.
This guy wants to run in. He's pure combat. He wants to get in there and do stuff. Like, a lot of the psychic powers in here are support powers. So this guy here, he wants to be in the thick of it. He wants to be hitting things. He wants to be pushing your angle on the battlefield forward.
Yeah.
So pumping him to level 2, it's cheap. You could probably do it, but I don't think you'd get the same legs as like what you would if you gave it to a Magus instead.
No. So you would give it to the Magus. Stat line is pretty good. He's got the toughness of 5 with 3 wounds, but then again he suffers from not so great Genestealer armor save. He's only got a 4+, but
with no invulnerable save.
Yeah,
we'll touch on that later.
Which we'll go into that later, which is very interesting. And Living Idol. So Living Idol's special ability means that all of the units within 12 inches of him are also fearless.
Which is great.
Which is pretty good. I mean, for an army that's got universally low leadership on its troops, it means that you can hold a bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're essentially, when we break it down a little bit more, they're essentially guard. So they have guard stat lines, and they will run away like guard.
They're just humans, man. They're just
guys.
they may be slightly mutated.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're kind of humans. So
Kinda humans.
you can expect that stat line to be across it.
Yeah. So that's it. He's not expensive. Like I said, he's sub 100. It's for what you get. It's pretty good, and it's more of a utility character. The army doesn't have just this is the Watchmaster Captain guy who's freaking 200 points and can take on kind of fixes by itself.
You could look at him as the commissar to keep your line tough, or you can use him as a assault troop. And the thing is, if you're playing in a tournament, for example, being able to fit 2 roles is huge.
Yeah.
Some armies you don't want to run up and hit. Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, Terminators are just going to eat him for breakfast. But he can sit back, make your gun line, if you have one, fearless, and still improve your game. He's never a wasted character.
Yeah, exactly.
He does have a reasonable close combat weapon. It's AP3.
Yeah, so you got a power sword essentially.
With rending.
With rending.
Yeah.
So
and weapon skill 7, strength 6. That's reasonable. And for the low price of a guardsman, he can have up to 2 familiars, which add 2 strength 4 rending attacks to his profile.
Nice.
So, that AP dash, but essentially he gets 9 points on the charge.
Yeah.
And for his points level, that's dirt cheap. You can just take him on his own, slunk him up the table, and do a thing. It might be a bit risky, but he can always recover, by taking him off the table, repositioning somewhere else if he gets too much heat.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I did wish he was toughness 6, but that's me living in a dream world.
It's kind of like a town commander in terms of like his strength and toughness.
That's right.
Or Demon Prince. So he's not. Yeah, it would be nice to have
the toughness 6 would have been nice, but I do believe with the army special rules, I do believe it would have been too strong.
Yeah.
We would have ended up paying for
a monstrous creature that can jump out of the ground and assault you in one turn. It's just like
I can dream.
They're trying to balance the game a little bit. Not go too stupid. Alright, well we'll move on to the Magus.
Yep.
So he's pretty much non-existent in points. He's dirt cheap at only 40. And pretty much a stat line of a Space Marine, but he's got the 2 wound... sorry, not a Space Marine. What am I calling? Imperial Guardsman. But with the extra ballistic skill, weapon skill, and higher leadership, and an extra wound. So he's toughness, strength 3, 5+ save. But from that...
He's not supposed to run forward and beat up land raiders with his fists.
No, this is your psycho. This is what he does. He does psychic things, and he does them well. So he starts off at level 1 with the option to go to level 2 for 25 points.
Yep.
Special rules, he's got Adamant Will, he's got the Cold Ambush, Return to the Shadows, Unquestionable Loyalty, Infiltrate, and Spiritual Leader is his special ability. And it is any Genestealer Cult factions that are within 12 inches of this model have Adamant Will. Which is okay, but in the current game, Blessings are more prominent than, say, Witchfires and Maledictions. So
that's true. But it's a little bonus, if you know what I mean.
Stops them getting Psychic Shrieked or something.
You may see a little similarity between that and the Patriarch's Living Idol, where if they're within 12, they get this bonus.
Yeah.
So as you take more characters, you can stack all these little bonuses onto your
they get little bubbles that you can pretty much layer on them, and they become slightly better each time.
One of the things I will say about the Magus is he has the access to the best war game. We'll get to it later on, but his Relics of the Cult that only he has access to are the best Relics of the Cult, full stop.
Yeah.
And for a little bit of points, you can turn him into, Eldrad. Yep, I'd rate it that high. I'd rate it that high.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Eldrad's a huge sink in points. This guy will never be.
That's true.
You never feel like you're wasting your time with this guy.
He'll be half the price, and if he's doing similar, if not the same, as what Eldrad does, then that's pretty good, because Eldrad is like 220 points or something, 240.
I believe this guy might get up to, he might push 100.
Oh,
might.
No, I can't do it. It's too many points. I was expecting like 50.
You can do it on 52, don't worry.
So moving on, we've got the Primus next. He is the captain
Yeah.
So he's stock standard generic guy, 3 wounds, still toughness 3. We're seeing a bit of a trend here with this Codex. They are particularly tough. Like I said, they're not very.
But they're squishy.
Yeah, they're squishy.
That is their negative.
Yeah.
And
but
played well, squishy armies can still be awesome. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the tower stuff is squishy except for all the suits.
No, even they're squishy.
Oh yeah.
You just run up and punch them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's lots of armies out there that are squishy as well, and they do just fine. Base armor save is 5+ as well. I noticed.
Yep.
Which is not the greatest, but on a captain type character. But we're all about the special rules with this army.
Well, again, with a captain-like character with unquestioning loyalty, you can just palm everything off to someone else.
Which he has because he's an independent character.
It doesn't matter.
He's got hatred, so re-rolls in close combat on the first turn. And this is his little bubble to layer onto everybody. Cult Demagogu.
Demagogue.
Demagogu?
I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. Maybe it's French.
Maybe it's French. Demagogu. 12 inches, everything has hatred. So once again, you've got Adamant Will, you've got the hatred, and the Primarch gave them what again?
He gave them Fearless.
Fearless. So now they're Fearless, hatred, cultists with
Adamantium
Will. Which that one's a little redundant, but that's it's there. It's the fact that it's there. You the one time that you wish it was there, it'll actually be there. It's like one of those things where
do I spend 5 points on getting this upgrade? Well, actually, I didn't because I was going to take him for all his other abilities anyway, and I got this on top of it.
Yeah, you got it for free.
So it's pretty good. And again, if you're going more assault-based army, hatred on everything, it's pretty nice.
Solid.
Yeah.
Put him in a nice assaulty unit, and they'll just shred through things because he's got the bone sword. That's an AP3 weapon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. +1 strength, so he
rerolls 1, I believe. Yeah, +1 strength, AP3, and I think he rerolls 1 to hit and maybe to wound, but definitely to hit.
Yeah, I think you're thinking about the relic. There's a relic that does that.
All right, get the relic for him.
Yeah, we'll get around to it. So, and he's got Rending Claws and Blasting Charges, which are the assault grenades.
Yeah, frag grenades.
Yeah.
I really hoped they were like combination frag and cracks, but if you use them as cracks, they would overheat.
Yeah.
But no, just assault grenades.
Just
Nothing
assault
too
grenades.
exciting.
Crazy.
You know, I had a dream, and then I looked it up, and the dream was broken.
Hey, it's like GW. Just I like doing that. Except they gave us this Codex, so I guess they're not that
it's
they're
fine,
not
it's
mean.
fine. I have big dreams sometimes. He does come with a needle pistol. Again, everything's assault orientated, so yeah. And he also comes with a lovely toxin injector, and we'll touch on all those again later on.
Yeah. So the attacks would be base 4 with the needle pistol and the close combat weapon.
Certainly would.
So on the charge, he's got 5 attacks. It's pretty big. That's pretty meaty. So anyway, we'll move over to the Acolyte Icon Ward. So for this guy, he's kind of like their standard bearer guy.
He is exactly their standard bearer guy.
Because he actually is holding a standard.
Yeah. And he holds the sacred banner of his cult. So, yeah.
Yep, he's there.
He is the token fantasy character in this 40k book.
Go figure. So, pretty much similar stat line to the Magus. He is a little bit pricier than the Magus base, but he does come with a 6+ feel no pain, and his bubble is 6+ feel no pain for everybody. Within 12, of course.
Yeah.
Let's not go crazy. Which is really, really good, but then it also has... it layers onto their feel no pain. If they already have it, it'll add +1, so it doesn't give just 6 straight.
Well, it does.
Yeah, as well.
It does, but if they've already got a 5+ feel no pain, it goes to a 4+.
It goes to a 4+, which is pretty good.
Which is nice. I mean, again, the army is squishy. This adds a little bit of toughness to it. I probably, out of all the characters, it's probably one I would use the least.
Yeah.
Mainly because just play better. This army will let you play better to avoid the hits.
Yeah.
So this guy is really, if you take hits, you can take them a bit better. Whereas the army special rules let you dodge out of those punches So
drop him, take another unit that can do that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's fair.
But in saying that, if you wanted to do, maybe more of a gunline kind of thing, definitely go for it. He will help you out far more than Hatred will. Yeah.
Any day. War gear, he's just got the auto pistol, rending claws, blasting charges, are pretty much all the exact same.
Yep.
The Cult banner, does that give anything in particular?
It does, but I can't remember.
Can't remember off the top of my head.
Like I said, he's my least favourite one, so he's the one I did not look up the rules for. So we'll touch on that when we touch on War Gear.
All right, well, that is your HQs.
Yep.
We're just going to move on to troops in a second, so we'll bring that next coming up. All right, guys, we are bringing the troops to you now. So we're going to kick things off with the first unit, which is the Acolyte Hybrids. So for pretty much no points, again, and I mean by no points, they're like 40 or 50. It's like next to nothing.
40.
This one is
40 for 5.
40.
40 for 5.
40 for 5. So that's not too bad. You get some decent,
The
stat line.
The stat line's a guard one with an extra weapon skill, strength, and attack. So nothing too crazy. You could almost say you're paying a point for each.
Yep.
But what really is exciting is the war gear options and what they can actually take. They have auto pistol, close combat weapon. So 3 attacks, 4 on the charge.
Yep.
Hello to the orcs. How you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orcs no longer have the troops with the most amount of attacks. Technically, these guys, orcs base 2 as well, but they've got pistols and choppers.
Yeah. So it's the same.
It's the same.
But these are strength 4, orcs are toughness 4.
It balances.
You can see some similarities there.
Their weapon skill 4 though.
They have Cult Ambush and Return to the Shadows, of course, which is Genestealers. Now, the main thing that I like about them is you can use them in many different ways. Everyone can take a hand flamer, which is really good. Remember how you can pop up, within 6 inches of an enemy unit? You just flamethrower them. It's only strength 3, but everyone gets one. Yeah. They will always have the assault. No one will try and assault them. It just feels good.
Yeah, because that'd be... If they start at 5, but you can make the unit up to 20 for an extra 8 points each, and 20 with the hand flavors would just be...
That'd be excessive. You wouldn't be able to get them all to shoot, but they would never be charged.
10 is probably the sweet spot for them.
It depends on how many can fit in a Goliath truck, their dedicated transport.
12?
Yeah, maybe
so 12 is the magic one because you can flame her off the side.
Yeah, it's open tops. Yeah,
that's
so
true.
The hand flamer, it's right at the top of their entry. It feels a little out of place because normally special weapons and that come later. It's really there so you can do a specific build with them.
Yeah,
and a little bit of gentle encouragement there, I believe.
Yeah, please make one of these units a hand flamer unit.
Yep.
And then it moves for every 5, 2 Acolyte Hybrids may replace their close combat weapon and Rending Claw with essentially a heavy weapon. A heavy close combat weapon.
It gives you 4 options. Heavy Rock Saw, Heavy Rock Cutter, Heavy Rock Drill, and Demolition Charge.
So lots of things to blow up
You would
stuff.
always take the Demolition Charge, I believe. It's Strength 8, AP 2. It's so good. You're popping out within 6 inches. You can use it generally. Lob it at your opponents. Who cares?
Is it large blast as well, or just small blast?
Large blast.
It's large blast.
Yep.
So it can deal a lot of damage very easily.
Or you can drive up in your Goliath, throw 4 out the top.
Yep.
It's nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's real nice.
There's some good tech.
The drill cutter and saw, of course, are all heavier close combat weapons, which is nice. But I do feel in a book that has Genestealers in it, kind of a little overzealous there. You don't need that. You're already going to have that close combat punch with strength 4 and rending.
It's probably a bit too much. You can go Genestealers as an alternative, whereas if you kit these guys out for close combat, they're probably not going to do the job quite as well, and they want to do other things as instead. It can be kitted out for better shooting than a Genestealer ever would be able to.
And then once they've done that, they can then run in assault, clean up the remainder with those 4 on the charge, rending, close combat attacks.
Yep. And they can obviously take the truck as a dedicated transport. A couple of the other options, obviously the Acolyte Leader can be kitted out with a couple of different things, the Bone Sword.
One thing I will point out actually with when you notice the Acolyte Leader, this one, the sergeants, if you will, do not come as standard.
Yeah, you have to pay
so across the book, you're generally paying about 10 points to give that character into it. I probably wouldn't, given that your HQs can just automatically palm off the attacks anyway, that you don't need that lookout surge just as much as what you would in other lists.
Yeah, and if the Patriarch's around, they're fearless anyway, so there's not a lot of reason to go for the Sergeant upgrade unless you really, really want that Bone Sword.
All my points.
Or the Lash Whip and Bone Sword.
Oh, hey. Oh, calm down, son. Just so you know, that Lash Whip, Bone Sword, and Sergeant costs more than your Magus.
Yeah. So you probably wouldn't be doing that.
You'd squeeze a few points and just get another Primarch in there, Patriarch, sorry.
Patriarch,
yeah. And you get him to do the work.
Get him to do it.
Yeah.
You just attach him because he can attach to the unit. There's nothing
That's right,
stopping him.
that's right.
They're fearless.
And
he's a much better close
And once the unit takes a few hits, in an independent character, you can just leave and go somewhere else.
Yep.
So don't get crazy with the upgrade characters. They're not as awesome in this book as what they have been in others.
Yeah, exactly. They're not Deathwatch.
That's for sure.
So moving on to Neophyte Hybrids, which are the other variants. So these are pretty much your guardsmen.
Yep.
So they're generation 4 or 5 hybrids. So the least Genestealer looking of the Genestealer Cult.
They still manage to catch the aesthetic though. A lot of them have the ribbed bone armor for carapace, not carapace, the flak armor on them, and it keeps the theme through the whole lot, which is nice, Well, you got all these ugly aliens, but they still manage to keep the aesthetic onto humans, and I think it's a really good design process by GW there.
Yeah, because the Acolyte Hybrids, they're like a 2 and 3 generation, and they look very Genestealer-y, but they've also got the flak armor and pants on and stuff like that, so they look like they're brothers in arms.
You can't go out with your Genestealer danglies hanging out. Of course they're wearing pants.
People will just be like...
Anyway, on to Neophyte Hybrids. The stats are guard. Their points cost are guard.
What they do is guard, auto pistol, close combat weapon, and they can take a heavy support platform.
They certainly
guard.
can. However, there is a lot of divergence. The special rules, you miss the orders that guard have, but you get the Genestealer special rules, which I believe are better because you've always got them. There's no rolls, they're always on, you can always use them.
Do a leadership check on 7 or less to make sure that this unit has pinning or doesn't die.
Yep. A guard unit that can redeploy across the board and take an objective is huge.
Yep.
Guard usually suffer from their immobility. These guys don't have that problem.
Yeah.
So they're really strong right there.
And the guard has to stay on its gun line, otherwise, many battles you've probably played, because you play guard, but David, my mate, always runs in the same thing. He needs to move out to take objectives, but then he just gets shredded the move.
But they're guardsmen.
But they're guardsmen, so he needs to keep them there, or they just get killed by everything.
That is right. One thing I will point out, instead of a heavy weapons team, they can actually take 2 heavy mining weapons. And we'll get to them later, but it essentially adds a lot more firepower to the unit than what you would just by adding a single heavy weapons team. So that's in there, that's nice, it's really good. So they've got more guns than guard. Slightly worse, but more guns. 2 per squad can have special weapons.
Yep.
Guard can only have 1, so these guys have it there.
Yep.
They can swap out their auto guns for las guns or shotguns. Las guns meaning if you've already got a guard army, you could just sick them straight in.
Yep.
Shotguns also allow you to have that extra aggressive stance with them. You come in within X, you shotgun your opponent, which is almost like early close combat attacks.
Yep.
And then you finish them off afterwards.
Yep. Either if you got lucky with the charge, or if one of the other units got the charge,
I've
you
always
can put them together, and then this one does a shoot, and then this one charges. So you can.
Well, I've always seen shotguns as the let's see how half my close combat went. There's too much of you left. I'm not going to assault.
Yeah.
You know, rather than have 2 close combat weapons get in there and get killed, they get that extra shot with the assault shotguns, which is nice. One neophyte hybrid can have a cold icon, nothing too surprising there. You can have a neophyte leader, which again I probably wouldn't do. And of course, they can either take a Goliath or a Chimera as a dedicated transport. Again, allowing guard players to play the new Tyranid rules. Genestealer rules. Genestealer rules. But nerds, come on.
They are and they are.
So, I actually think Neophyte hybrids are probably one of the best units in the book.
Yeah, easily.
The Genestealer cult rules are really good. These guys can make the most of it. They're a low investor in points.
Yep.
So if they get redeployed wrong, you don't care.
Yeah.
And they can have more bang for your buck. You can tool them up to do things, which is huge.
Because they can take the seismic cannons and the mining laser as well, can't they?
Certainly can. They can have 2 in a squad.
So the mining laser is essentially a mini las cannon.
36-inch range.
Yep.
But
and then the seismic cannon is the same, but it's either a crack missile launcher.
It's a 3-shot crack missile launcher at 0 to 12 range, and at longer range, it's like a heavy bolter. Which is cool, considering you redeploy over there next to your opponent.
Yep, you've got that nice close stance, so you're going to be right up them. And if you go behind a tank that's, Imperial Guard or even like Talon stuff, like 13 armor or 14 armor on the front, you get behind them, you can shoot them up the butt and blow the tank up in like 2 seconds.
That's right.
And this is a 50-point unit.
Yeah, the chump change. You do not care. They are so good. So, I can see that being the backbone of many a list.
They'll definitely there'll be like 8 units of them in most 1850 point lists, I reckon.
Yeah, I believe so.
At least.
I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah. If not more. And some of the formations get pretty, like if you take 2 or more of them, you can get
they feature heavily in a lot of formations as well, so you'll accidentally accrue the neophytes.
There's only 10 units.
They're just good. Yeah.
So that's it for troops. That's the only 2 things for troops.
Yep.
Then we're going to move on to the elites. So that is coming up in a second. All right, guys, we are back, and the elites choices now.
Hybrid metamorphs are the first off the rank.
Cheapest chips, 45 points. We would get 5 of them. They have auto pistols, rending claws, metamorph talons, and obviously blast charges for those assault grenades, and the usual special rules, cult ambush and return to the shadows. So as far as stat line is, it's pretty much the same as the what are they called, the Acolyte hybrids.
They are identical.
They're them, but more close combat orientated.
Even more so, yes.
Yes, super focused on close combat. They have a couple of different options. Obviously, you can go up to 5 additional, so you can go to 10 on them.
Yep.
But they have the ability to replace their rending claws and metamorph talons with 2 metamorph talons. So what does the metamorph talon actually do?
Don't remind me. I'll have a look. Metamorph talons are strength 4. Strength of user, so these guys are strength 4.
Strength 4.
AP 5, melee, and scythe. Scythe being a special rule, I cannot remember. Don't worry, we got this.
We got this. We know things.
Alright.
Scythe.
Here we are. Scythe. Adds +1 to his weapon skill during the fight subphase.
And if it has 2, it's +2.
Yeah, so they go from weapon skill 4 to 5 and then to 6. Which is actually quite handy, considering that weapon skill 4 is normal.
Yeah.
1 metamorph talon essentially gets you over that line to be hitting on 3s.
Yeah, against pretty much most things in the game. I wouldn't go for the double, probably ever.
You don't get the legs in it.
It's not giving you the extra attack, and you lose the rending for the extra weapon skill. It's just not worth it.
The difference between weapon skill 5 and 6 is negligible. How many Space Marine captains do you fight in 1 week?
one.
That's right. That's right. If you can beat Weapon School 4, you're in good standing.
And that's the majority of the game.
Yeah.
So that's as far as you need to take it. Keep the rending. Obviously, kill those Space Marines good when you roll those 6s.
Definitely.
Apart from that, they can go with Metamorph Claws or Metamorph Whips. So the claws.
Right. So the claws essentially add 2 to your strength during the fight subphase.
So they go to Strength 6.
They go to Strength 6, which essentially means that you can open those tin cans on the battlefield without. There's no gamble in it. It's always on. Now it's a couple of points. You do have rending everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's not huge.
Kind of like weighing that thing up.
It's not huge, but the thing is that you're wounding Marines on 2s.
And so you're popping rhinos and predators and all that kind of stuff on 4s instead of hoping for those 6s.
That's right. So it is a thing. Would you have the whole squad with it? Probably not. You'd probably put 2 or 3 and then juggle your squad around depending on your opponent.
Depending on what you're versing.
Yeah, that's right.
And
lastly is the whip. Now the whip is melee and lash, strength 4, AP 5, but it gets +3 to its initiative in the fight subphase. One of the problems that you have with your hybrid assault units, they're all initiative 4.
Yeah.
This bumps it to initiative 7, meaning you can get those hits in before your opponent gets a chance to punch your weak strength.
Yeah. Toughness 3.
Toughness 3.
5+ armor saves.
yeah. You don't want to get hit.
Yeah, so it does actually make sense that that's an option. I mean, I look at that and I go, why would you? But then when you break it down, you think, then you get to hit your Space Marines first and nullify the return firepower. Because even if you put crazy things like the claws and the the rending attacks onto Space Marines, the fact is they're all attacking you simultaneously. You've probably lost a unit and killed maybe 3 or 4 Space Marines.
Which is probably an equivalent trade, but you can't keep doing that. You will lose stuff. These guys with the whip allow you to get your rending attacks in first, kill a Marine or 2 before they get their attacks back, and again, there's going to be less attacks, so instead of wiping you out, there'll be 2 or 3 left.
High survivability, and it's a bread and butter of Warhammer, is to make sure to keep your stuff alive while killing your opponent's stuff at any opportunity. So if you can build it into the list, that's not a bad thing. And
at 2 points, it's reasonable. I like it far better than the Claw, and definitely better than 2 Metamorph Talons.
Yeah. So, what do we got next?
Next up, you've got the leader that you can, of course, take, and of course, he can take the Bone Sword, which is hugely expensive. Now, they hid this one. Any hybrid replace its auto pistol with a hand flamer. So, what made the earlier unit beautiful in Assault? These guys get it as well, which is huge. You can run up, flame the living crud out of things, reduce it. They're never going to assault you because the penalty to it will be too high. Yeah. And off you go.
D3 to each guy. There's 5 of them. That's 5 D3. It's just too much. Even if it is strength 3, it's just too much.
It all adds up, especially when you're striking initiative 7.
Yeah.
So the hand flamers in there, hidden down the list unlike the other ones, but definitely there. And of course, they can take an open top transport and flame all out the sides. They don't get the special heavier weapons that the other ones do, but
they are focused towards that. You can kit them out with these type of close combat abilities type thing. Yeah.
So while the neophytes are very shooty, the acolytes are a bit of a mix. These ones are far more combat focused, which is nice.
Which is why they put them in elite, but okay.
it is a bit strange, but you never know. It might actually be a playtesting thing. If you can just build an army of these guys and bomb rush them up the field, it might be just a little too much on the balancing. Yeah. Keep in mind that close combat isn't that crash in the current edition.
7th is very close combat hating.
This may be too much. Yeah. So it's nice,
For the points, I think
if I was building a list this way, I'd probably mix in a unit or 2.
Yeah, just for the variety and give you some flexibility on what you're versing, because they do have their uses. The combat, it's ridiculous amount of attacks to start with, because they all start, pretty much everything in the army starts
auto pistol, rending claws, metamorph talons, 2 attacks.
And rending is just, you can't go past
rending everywhere. So Rending is often seen as a gamble, but when you've got so much of it, it's good.
It's very much not a gamble.
That's right. But the problem that I have with them is the next entry. You can have pure strain Genestealers in your list.
Yep.
They cost the same as a Tyranid Genestealer, 14 points each. The stat line is almost the same. They have an extra attack on their profile.
Start at 3 base.
Rather than 2 base.
Well, they would need to because they don't have the pistol to make it 3.
Yeah, that's true. They have Rending Claws, they have Cold Ambush, Fleet, Infiltrate, Move Through Cover, Return to the Shadows, and Stealth.
Yep.
So all the things that you would expect with them.
Yeah.
With no extra point cost.
No, they're the same points as the one in the Tyranid book, and yet do everything the same, but there is one giant difference that we're going to get to in about 2 seconds.
If they're joined with a Patriarch, they gain Furious Charge. I cried when Furious Charge NIDs were unavailable for a moment there.
Yep.
Getting them back is huge.
It's huge, yep.
And putting them with a big swinger like the Patriarch is, it works out. But the main thing is, Pure Strain Genestealers have a 5+ invulnerable save.
You heard that here first. Not cover save.
No.
Not from the stealth shroud or anything.
Everything gets cover saves in this edition.
Not
Don't worry about
base,
that.
But they have pretty much the same rule that the assassins do, which is hyper reflexes. The assassins have a 4+ because they're even more hyper reflective. And
they don't cost 14 points though.
They don't cost 14 points. They cost like 150. But for the measly cost of 70 for 5 of them, you're getting 5+ invulnerable Genestealers, which is
one of the weaknesses of Genestealers has been Overwatch stuff like that. They just die. Flamers hurt, all that kind of stuff. Flamers hurt less now. Bolters hurt less now.
Yep.
It's I think we'll
it just
see.
Helps.
We'll see far more Genestealers in play because of this.
Yeah.
And they're really good. And when you look at the Metamorphs, I don't know how they stack up against Pure Strain Genestealers. I think I would pay the few points and get Pure Strain Genestealers every time over them.
I would probably do it.
The only thing that you would take them for is Pure Strain Genestealers don't know how to drive a Goliath truck.
Yeah.
So the other ones can hide in a truck. These guys
have to run around on the field, or they have to infiltrate.
Or use their special rules.
Yeah, or jump off from reserve. If they do a cold ambush though, if you do get the 6 on a big Pure Strain Genestealer unit, that could be potentially devastating.
It'd be really painful if maybe a Warlord trait that you choose which one you get.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. Or if there's just a very high probability of getting it from rolling multiple dice.
Yeah, we'll get there. Next up on Elites is Aberrants.
Aberrants. They're very expensive.
They are 30 points for a 2 wound, toughness 4, strength 5 dude.
Yes.
5+ armor save, just close combat options.
Feel no pain though, but pure feel no pain, 5+ instead of the 6+.
Yeah.
So if they're next to Mr. Eichenward, they'll have a 4+ one, which is pretty good.
They certainly would. If they perhaps had 3 wounds, I'd be really excited for them. At 30 points a model, I think they're too expensive.
Yeah.
You're really hoping for that.
Any same price as Terminators, or?
Well, definitely close to.
Definitely close to, and unfortunately, I think Terminators are a little bit better.
Yeah. They do pack a punch if they ever get to close combat. Unfortunately, the other problem there is they're only initiative 2. So everything punches them 4. They're only punches them first.
Yeah.
They're only toughness 4. They've only got 2 words. They've only got a 5+ save. I think they're like, the big kid on the playground that gets beaten up by all the small children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just too expensive, and they're probably one of the weaker. Probably the weakest entry in the Codex.
I definitely expect so. I like that they put them there, but it really wasn't necessary. Perhaps something else would have filled that slot in the Codex. Maybe a little better. Even something more expensive, but perhaps had like a Bulgrin style unit, which had more save. maybe
even,
more wounds.
even like a 4+ with, or even 5+, but give them the extra wound, make them 3+ to make them a little bit more robust.
5+ with toughness 5 would have been good.
Yeah, that's true. That too.
You know,
a lot of ways they could have been improved.
Yeah. You get against other units in the game. I just feel like if you're taking these guys, you just enjoy playing 40k on hard mode.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but yeah.
If it's a casual game and you know your opponent's not taking too much stupid things, they could be fun to use. And in the right situation, I reckon they're not too bad.
No. Don't get me wrong. They can be used well, and you can get some legs out of them. Unfortunately, compared to the rest of the book, they just look lackluster.
Yeah, they're pretty average.
Yeah.
So, straight on to
Fast attack.
Fast attack. We might just jump into it. We've got a Chimera.
And it's an Imperial Guard Chimera.
And it's an Imperial Guard Chimera, so we'll leave that.
It's identical in all ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously,
except for of Genestealers, everything can use its last gunner raise. I kind of wish Genestealers could use the last gunner raise, to be quite honest, because that would be funny.
Yeah. So that's true. You can put Genestealers in this transport, run them up the board. So that's another way to keep them protected. But obviously they have infiltrate, scout, and they can do the ambush. So why would you even bother? But it's there. It's there for a transport option if you want to try some. I'm sure there's some tech that somebody will work out that they actually do sort of.
Well, it's a guard unit in Cold Genestealer.
Yeah.
It fleshes out the book. It gives you some armored, ranged attacks in there, and it's nice.
Speaking of which, Armored Sentinel.
They are also in the book.
They are also in the book, exactly the same as they are points cost in option wise compared to the Armored Sentinel in the Imperial Guard.
Yep.
Obviously, can take up to 3 in a unit. They're walkers. They can arm 12 on the front because they've got the armor. Multi-laser.
Nothing here would surprise anyone. They're a nice wee unit to have. You know, you can also use them to tie up units to a degree. If you've got a more shooty orientated focused army, it adds some heavy weapons onto it, and you can also run them forward with armor 12 to bog down units so that they can't beat up your stuff. Put them in a squad of Tau. The Tau will play with it for the rest of the game, and you'll never have to worry about them. The Scout Sentinel, Armored Sentinel, will eventually kick the crap out of them and they'll run off the board. And you've paid 40 points for that. So, you know, it's got its uses. I like its inclusion.
It's there, and you know you can use it. It's not the best thing in the Codex, but it's not the worst thing.
I actually quite like that it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it really fills it out. It's good.
And
strange enough, Scout Sentinels are also in there. I may have fluffed that before. Identical.
You called the other one a Scout Sentinel.
I had a dream.
The Scout Sentinel is also in the Codex.
Yep.
Exactly the same, isn't it?
Identical to the Guard one. So you have both those options there. Onto something a bit more unique to Tyranids. Genestealers.
Genestealer Cult.
Tyranid Cult.
Tyranids, Genestealer Cult, Imperial Guard.
Yeah, that thing.
That's Codex. Renamed right now.
Yeah. I'll patent it afterwards and get sued by GW. First up, Goliath Truck. Now, I really like it. I was a fan when the Astra Miller Watsits got the their truck. What was it called? The Taurox.
Taurox, yeah.
This is
a Taurox.
A Taurox.
Except it's open topped.
Except for it's open topped. It's only 10 models, not the 12 that we mentioned earlier. Has a twin-linked autocannon, heavy stubber. Heavy stubber's alright, I don't mind them. But it's special rule, front armor 11, side and rear armor 10. Hit points is 3, which is up from the Taurox, I believe, which I think is 2.
No, Taurox are 3 as well.
Shows how often I use them.
I've versed them enough to know that they're 3.
In my guard, I love autocannons. Seeing another twin-linked autocannon for 50 points, I would take this every time. What this one has is rugged construction. If a crew stun, shaken, or immobilized result comes up, roll a dice. On a 4+, you ignore the result but take the whole point.
That's pretty good.
It keeps firing the whole game.
Makes it better, I think, in my opinion, than a Rhino. even though it's more expensive points.
I don't care.
But it's so much more robust, and
this will beat up a rhino. Eat it for lunch. Take a missile launcher to the face. Ignore the immobilized.
and then
drive around.
Keep driving around.
It's cool. I like it.
Pretty good.
I'm not sure about the aesthetic of it, but
Where are our limos?
yeah. We wanted our pimpmobiles.
My Goliath limo.
You gave us a truck. We wanted a pimpmobile.
We wanted a pimpmobile.
I'm going to convert something.
Or just use the old ones if you still got them lying around. They're probably going for like $1,000 each though these days or something stupid.
Yeah, probably. Can be equipped with a cache of demolition charges. Now, this is a lovely little upgrade that I like. If a unit's embarked on them, one of the unit can forego its shooting in order to throw a demo charge. That's really cool. Unfortunately, has a negative that if the Goliath takes a penetrating hit, roll a dice. On a 1, the demo you get a demo charge on it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it takes another strength 8 AP2 hit.
Yeah.
I like it. It's thematic. It's not terribly bad. You know, it's not going to make you cry. It's open topped. If it gets penetrated, it's probably going to die.
It's probably going to get blown
You
up.
don't care. But it's cool. I like that they have that pro and con to the actual truck. And again, the demo charge is only 6-inch range, so it encourages that whole aggressive stance with the placement of the armor. I like it.
Face.
Goliath truck.
It's good times.
Yep, definitely.
The only thing that kills it for me.
Is the red stripe on the front?
No.
Okay, because it doesn't go faster.
Actually, it has nothing to do with the rules. I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing transport. Here in Australia, we are quite not... what's the word I'm looking for? We're not very privileged to be a forefront country for GW products.
I think what Andrew's trying to say here is the tax on this particular vehicle is very high, considering the transports of the other races in 40k.
Yeah. It's $100. The model is $100 to buy.
Yep.
Brand new, mind you.
Chimeras are 55, Rhinos and Razorbacks are 55.
It hurts.
This one has a huge tax on it. I haven't seen a model made up in the flesh yet because they don't come out until Saturday.
Well, that's probably number one.
Yeah.
Number 2 is you probably won't see a lot of them anyway right away because you'll have to sell a kidney to buy a couple.
Or an appendix.
You don't have one to sell anymore. What are you going to do?
I have autocannon chimeras.
Oh, okay.
We could work out something.
We'll just do that instead.
That's true, but again, I'll wait till I see a kit in real life. If it's a decent size, we might be able to understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yes, it is pricey. I don't understand why. It's just what they did. And GW down here, unfortunately, does that. Some things are incredibly good value. Some things are not.
Yeah.
I've personally,
it's hit and miss. Yeah.
I've asked GW a number of times why this occurs because releases from week to week will vary hugely, and I have yet to hear a response. And it's been a few months.
It's just GW doing GW.
Well, my rep passes it up the chain, and one day I'll make a response.
It will actually might make it all the way up the chain to where it needs to go.
That's right.
So that is the end of the fast attack. So we're going to move into heavy support coming up in a sec. Alright guys, we are back with the heavy support and we're kicking off with the Goliath Rock Grinders. So the Goliath truck is the fast attack transport version of their tank. Otherwise, in the heavy support, you've got the Goliath Rock Grinders, which is pretty much exactly the same, but you're losing transport capacity for better armor and a lot more firepower. Substantially more firepower.
It comes with one of the Colt heavy weapons directly on it with the heavy mining laser.
Yeah.
Las cannon.
The las cannon.
Yeah.
And can be upgraded for next to nothing to a torrent flamer or the bigger version of the seismic cannon. So it goes to 5-shot?
5 or 6. It's something impressive.
Yeah.
And again, the one thing you've missed there is the drill dozer blade. This thing rams people. It does D3, Strength 10, AP, something good hits, before it does its ram.
Yeah.
So this is your vehicle killer. No one wants to drive a Land Raider at you because you're just going to drive your cheap-as 75-point rock grinder at it.
It makes tank shock viable. All of a sudden, you got to remember that there's a rule called tank shock now.
Yeah.
And that you can use it with this thing, and yeah, it does a ridiculous amount of damage if you just hit it, and then you still get the tank shock.
Death or Glory, you get double the bonus.
Yep, you can tank shock a unit if it's a high toughness or even like got good armor save like Terminators. You just mince them up. And it does a lot of damage to a lot of things just by running into them.
I believe they have to make an initiative check, so of course it's better against things that don't have an initiative value. Like
still 66% on a Space Marine that you could pass it. 33% you could fail it still.
Yeah.
So,
and for 75 points, it's quite good.
Yeah.
And again, the heavy seismic cannon probably leads in with that aggressive stance of the vehicle. As it gets stronger at the shorter ranges, it does a hell of a lot more damage.
Yeah.
So, this is your vehicle killer. At 75 points, it's cheap. You
take 6 models in the back. You can only come out of the back. They have an access point in the back, and they can shoot out of the back. It's not over top though.
They can throw demo charges off it. Yeah. That's what I would do. Protect it with hand flamers. It's good.
Well, think about it. With the access point, you can Overwatch with, guys, and it's up to 6 models can fire from the rear platform.
That's correct.
So if it runs up and somebody wants to charge it in the rear to get some easy kills on it, you can just blast them with hand cannons, and then suddenly it doesn't become so much of a viable option to do that.
Yeah, it's scary. And again,
I don't want to do that.
Again, there's a lot of units in this list that say, "Don't assault me because I will beat you up.
I will hurt you."
You look at their stats and you go, "I could probably take that," and then you get all this Overwatch damage done to you, and then you lose.
Like, I didn't take that.
And this army can push you back because you don't want them in combat, and you don't want to assault them. So you've only got shots. So the rock grinder fits with that plan of attack, that modus operandi.
So we come to the last entry in the Codex. So ultimately, it's been a very light Codex in terms of options, but you can kit out multiple units with different types of things. Yeah. Everything can be built to a specific role. It's not as fleshed out as like their Death Watch.
Well, to be honest, everything in this Codex is usable, and we've got one more to go as well.
Yeah, that is also usable.
Yeah, everything is usable except for one. Most codexes have an array of units that people do not pick up. Everything here has its niche, everything here has its use, and everything here doesn't punish you for taking multiples of it.
Yeah.
If I took 2 Patriarchs, cool.
Double Fearless, and you put them with 2 pure strain Genestealers, you suddenly
run the
good bubbles of Fearless running around the field and decent in close combat.
Yeah, run some rock grinders with there to add some extra pressure and all that, and you're just very aggressive in your face army. And it was so easy to build. Everything here has its own theme, has its own idea, and it's good. But too many codexes lead you to chicken pick and take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you end up with this messy list. Yeah,
the only way you can use one redundant guy is if you replicate it like 6 or 7 times. So, the last thing on the list is the Lemon Russ Squadron. So, another Imperial Guard mainstay. They're stolen some Lemon Russes and running around with battle cannons. And
they are identical in every way, shape, or form to the Imperial Guard Lemon Russ. That's okay. I'm not too dissatisfied with that.
Puts in the heavy support, like long-range firepower that the army doesn't have anywhere else, pretty much. But it does, to me, it feels a little disjointed, because if you're doing a lot of close combat stuff with the rest of the book, the Lemon Russ is the only thing that's not doing that.
And your Goliaths with their 48-inch twin-linked autocannons.
Yeah, but the rest of the Goliaths stuff means you want them close. You want the
neophytes
open top
can be
ones.
kitted out for long range firepower.
Yeah.
There's a list for it, and it's
You
very
can build a list, I guess.
Imperial Guard. I do believe the reason the Lehman Russ Squadron is in here is because your old Genestealer Cult artwork and stuff like that features it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they included
had
it.
to be in there.
Will you use it in most lists? I don't think so.
Maybe.
You can.
You can, but if you're going to do it that way, it's like what we just said. You have to then kit out everything else for that purpose.
But again, you're able to build that army with this Codex, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to own 50 books. This is the book you can use. You can make several different builds out of it, and all of them are relatively intuitive.
Yeah. Which is pretty good.
Yep. And that is our unit entries.
Yeah. That's all of it for at the moment. So we've gone through pretty much everything. So there are a couple of standouts. There are units in there that are definitely just straight yes. I need like 7 of these, and I need 8 of these, and I need 20 of these.
I don't think it's quite the case, but
exaggerations aside,
everything has its place, and that's nice. A lot of codexes in the past haven't felt that way, except for maybe Elba. You know, accidentally make a good list with Elder. This one here will accidentally make a good list with Genestealer Cult, which is nice. I like that, you know.
Yeah.
Everything is reasonable. If you don't play it well, you'll get punished.
Yeah, it's a hard army.
It will be a hard army to play, but it will be very rewarding and very entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, no matter Elder and Tau, sometimes are very boring armies to play with and play against. The Genestealer Cult, you know,
no two games are going to be the same. It's going to be different every single time.
Both players are going to be entertained, challenged, and that's good.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what we want. That's why we play GW.
That's right. That's right.
The Games Workshop games is 40k is all about the randomness, but getting a different experience each time you have a different game with a different army. Whereas, yeah, you're right. The Tau armies, the Elder armies that run around at the competitive levels, they're all the same. They're just murderous amounts of firepower, and if you don't have the ability to survive it, you just die.
Yep.
So they can become redundant games. They're good at that level, but there's a whole other game that's going on around here. And these are a good, fluffy, focused, yet flexible army that can do a bit of everything, and you can build it a couple of different ways.
Yep.
So, that is unit entries done. We're going to call it for this video. So I hope you like, subscribe, guys, get on it. Wait for the second video, which will be coming out in probably only a couple of days. I'll do them pretty quickly. We're going to focus on formations next time. So we'll go through that. Anyway, we'll see you around. From me and Damien, we'll see you next time.
And may all your games be good games.